everyone. We are thrilled that you are joining us today. My name is Helena Buttons, and I'm a senior communication and English double major with a business minor. I've previously been a sex educator with the Dean of Students Office and a peer navigator for career services. Currently, I manage the on-campus food pantry shop, and in the coming weeks, I will be beginning my spring internship with Chief of Staff Christy Eck. After graduation, I hope to find myself working in nonprofit management or higher education. So thank you for joining us tonight for a session on how to rock your LinkedIn profile. We are well into our second annual Imagine 2022 program sponsored by the President's Office, Career Services, and the Oswego Alumni Association. This is the third week of an amazing program series focused on giving current students and the class of 2021 the chance to explore career paths, find job/internship opportunities, network with alumni, and more. Check out the website for more details. We will be putting the link in the chat. Just by attending tonight's event, you will be eligible for a prize drawing at the end of the week. If you complete our survey at the end of this session, we will enter you twice. One housekeeping item. Please place any questions or comments in the chat, and we will be closely monitoring it to make sure we get to you. And now I am so excited to introduce you to our guest speaker. Caitlin Jackson is currently a senior customer success manager for LinkedIn Learning. Before coming to LinkedIn, Caitlin was a customer success manager at a K-12 ed tech platform and a former K-12 teacher and leader. She is passionate about all things learning, currently working with higher education partners to identify skill gaps and learning development needs across faculty, staff, and students to support skill development and overall learning. Caitlin, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. And I'm going to go here and sorry, I had this queued up and then of course it doesn't work out the way that I wanted to. But we are going to talk today about rocking your LinkedIn profile. So here we go. And Helena, can you see my screen? Everything good to go?
Yep, looks great.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about just making sure to give some tips and tricks on how to really create a really quality profile so that you're able to network, you're able to also maybe apply for jobs, get noticed, and really just be part of the LinkedIn community. And there's just some tips that we have that to really make your profile stand out. So we always like to talk a little bit about why are we here? Why LinkedIn? And LinkedIn is the largest professional social network for everything from job searching to networking to overall learning. And so you have a unique opportunity as Oswego to having LinkedIn Learning as well. And so what's nice about that is you can create that profile within LinkedIn network, but also build skills needed for the workforce. So whether you're a student, whether you're an alumni, whether you're top of your field or just starting out, there's a place for you at LinkedIn. And what's great about LinkedIn is we are the largest social network. We have, and I'll talk to you later a little bit about our breadth in terms of how many people and how many companies and colleges and universities are on there. But it is definitely the #1 place people go and network, to build relationships, to learn, and also to job search. So we're going to talk a little bit about just in terms of the career journey. You may think especially if you go back to where I was in college, I was going to be a teacher, and that was my goal. And my career's path kind of shifted and changes as my 15 years in the workforce, and will probably continue to change as I move throughout as well. So I think some may have a very structured path, some may not, but just being open into learning and what interests you, and building that foundation around your LinkedIn profile, your networking community, and your relationships, so that if you do want to explore something else, you have the ability and people behind you ready to connect you, and so that you're ready to get the opportunity and the job that you want. So let's get to know a little bit about LinkedIn. We talk a little bit about what LinkedIn is. So we are a social media platform, but we're used a little bit differently than maybe some other platforms that you're familiar with. So we like to use the example of donuts. So if you're going to be on social media, you may use the platforms in different ways. So you may talk about donuts and like something like donuts on Facebook. You may have a cool picture of a donut you share on Instagram, or you may have a recipe that you're using on Pinterest. Maybe you're listening to a song named Donuts on Spotify. But there's lots of different ways that you may use a particular platform. So I think there's a place for all social media networks and why you may want to engage in different platforms. But each one has its own unique spin to your audience, what you're posting, the content on there. And so when we talk about LinkedIn, that same example of the donut may look a little bit differently. So instead of maybe posting a picture on a donut, you may talk a little bit about how you want to hope to operate a donut franchise. Maybe you're looking for a job at a donut company because you love donuts so much. Maybe you have lots of experience in the donut industry and hoping to further your career on it. Or maybe you want some recommendations from former donut colleagues. So there's different ways that you can utilize LinkedIn and think through maybe what would be specific for the LinkedIn platform rather than maybe a Facebook or an Instagram, knowing that social media is definitely, it's huge in our world. It's in everything that we do, and continuing to be more of a presence. And how do we decipher what to do on what platform? So when we talk about LinkedIn, here we go. When we talk about LinkedIn, we talk about the power of LinkedIn and the ability to have this economic graph. And so what's wonderful is that LinkedIn is this powerful set of tools, data, insights, and we're able to grab all of this to connect individuals. We have a professional community of over 706 million members with over 50 million companies. I think we have a ton of schools on there. We have so many different skills and jobs that are being posted, and we're able to track all of this information by people's profiles, what jobs are being posted, how jobs are being filled. And we often can see certain ebbs and flows and be able to really kind of get a look at what the economic graph of the global workforce is. The LinkedIn mission statement is to create economic opportunity for the global workforce. So we're always trying to figure out ways to really create that opportunity for all, whether it's through networking, through learning, through job posting, through helping each other with collaboration. So that's the power in terms of why you would want to be on LinkedIn. So when you think about your profile, you want to think about your story. So what does your profile say about you and who you want to be as a professional? And your profile is a little bit different than just maybe a resume. So your resume is great. It talks all about your experience. It's that file on the computer or that piece of paper, but your profile should be a little bit more dynamic about who you are. It's a digital portfolio about you, your experiences, who you want to be, where you want to go, what you're passionate about. So I would really look at your profile as just something outside of your resume. Yes, it talks about your experience, but tells a little bit more about who you are and your story and where you want to go. So one thing we're going to focus on is, the first thing is setting up your photo. So members with photo get up to 9 times more connection requests and over 21 times more profile views, and you get 36 times more messages. So definitely taking time to put in a photo is definitely helpful, because it helps others recognize who you are and put a face to the name and the profile and just the persona that you're building there on LinkedIn. We also have certain filters. So here's some photo best practices for you. We have general best practices that you're alone in the profile. So we know who is the individual, oftentimes from the shoulder up, having some kind of neutral background or professional clothing on. But then again, also thinking about the industry and what you want to say about who you are. So It may make sense to have a more creative background if you're going into more of a creative space. It depends on what industry you're in, who you are, and what you want to put out as who you are as a professional. So you do have a lot of just a license on how you want to create your profile picture and what you want that profile picture to be. Professional is thoughtful and authentic. We talk a lot about your authentic self and who you are. And so I wouldn't worry about having a professional headshot, although many people do. But if you don't have the capacity to do it, you could take it with your phone. Here, just some tips around it is make sure that it's high resolution if possible, good lighting, and just really showcases who you are. Another option and another suggestion is to record your name. So to pronounce your name for others to make a really great first impression so that those that meeting you for the first time, maybe they're looking at your LinkedIn profile before meeting you at an event or before an interview or before connecting you in school or whether at a position, we're able to pronounce your name correctly. So it would be great. It just leaves a really great first impression. You can update that on the mobile app. It gives you about 10 seconds. And I would say to limit any background noise so you can be really clear when you're saying your name. Hold your phone 4 inches away from your mouth. And that's the best we've seen in terms of being able to make sure that everybody can understand. But it's a great tool to be able for everybody to know who you are. And your name is a lot about who you are. So making sure that you record your name for all to see. We also talk about adding your pronoun so that you show up as who you are. So it's optional and you can set your visibility, but 72% of hiring managers believe it's important and it shows a lot of respect. We see about 70% of job seekers believe that it's important for recruiting and hiring managers to know their gender pronouns. And this is a feature that's available in many different countries, but definitely in the US. So definitely go ahead and add your pronouns to your profile to really just continue to show who you are. Step 4 is to add your industry. So members with industry information, they receive up to 9 times more profile views. So tagging that industry in, again, this is optional, but it will give you a lot more views. It also will allow you to appear in a lot more searches that recruiters run. So always good to be more visible on LinkedIn so recruiters can connect with you. So a great way to just talk about your overall industry, and that may change depending on when you go through your career path. So just make sure that you know the profile is dynamic by your interests and where you're at. But definitely taking a look at your industry to make sure that you're noticed. More than 300,000 people are searched by industry on LinkedIn each week. So it's definitely a tool that recruiters use, users use, so something to definitely keep in mind. And drafting a compelling summary. So that about section, think about it as your elevator pitch, usually around 40 plus words. And we talked actually a little bit about this at another session yesterday on the panel about social media. That's a great way to talk a little bit about who you are and to bring some light on your passions, where you want to go, what you have done. So I would even suggest and really kind of push you to think through this about section as not just a type up about maybe what you have done, what you maybe your experience, but more about maybe, yes, you want to call out what you have done and your skills, but where you want to go, what are you passionate about, what do you want to be known for professionally. So really taking a look at that about section so that you're able to really focus on who you are, what you want to accomplish, what you want to be professionally known for, and what skills you bring to the table, which can really jump out to recruiters, future managers, future colleagues as they're looking at your profile. You also, knowing that you're adding about the summary, that summary of about 40 words makes you a lot more likely to turn up in employers' searches when they're doing searches for potential colleagues. So definitely something to take a look at and to really think through when you're creating your profile. It does not have to be very long. It can be short and sweet. but a great way to talk a little bit more about who you are. Feature content. So it's a way to bring your story to life by pinning rich media in that featured section. So maybe it's particular content that you're proud about, with certain documents or articles that you're interested in. Maybe you wrote something that you want to feature on your page. It's a great way to talk a little bit more about who you are and your story. So I think the content is a great way to kind of add light to what you're interested in, the industries and your interests that you have, whether you've created it and that content is coming from you or whether it's coming from others, but ways to highlight that content for a recruiter to really get to know who you are. Detail your work experience. So a way to, when you go ahead and you take a look at your work experience and you're ready to set up your profile, members with up-to-date positions receive more connection requests, more profile reviews, more messages. So definitely take a look, especially for those that may be students, take a look at your work experience overall. So whether and everything counts. So whether you have done an internship or community service, really think about what you have and what you can bring to a particular position, and talk to a little bit about what that is. So give a little summary, use as much specifics and data as possible. So to really give somebody a quick snapshot on what you have done, what you've learned from the role, and what you can offer as a future employee. I would say one of the best practices is to use bullet points, or just keeping it short and sweet. You want to use really specific, direct language. I wouldn't be I would make sure that it's condensed, and that it's really kind of talking in a really short manner, what you have done, what you have accomplished, and it's not too long. And for those that have volunteer experience, please don't discredit that. This is a great place for to add that volunteer experience. It's part of your experience and what you can bring as an employee. And so it's always good, whether you're a student with volunteer experience or whether you're volunteering, if you're already employed, definitely go ahead and add that volunteer experience. Those that have volunteer experience add up to 6 times more profile views than those who don't. So definitely take a look at your volunteer experience, and make sure it's documented on your profile to tell a little bit about what your skills are, and tells a little bit more about what you're interested in and a little bit more about who you are. And one of the last steps is to add skills and get endorsed. So skills we're seeing, especially with a rapid change in the last 2 years with the pandemic, and just this digital transformation that we're in, the workforce is drastically changing in terms of the skills needed, and this idea of being skill-based is very top of mind for employers right now. And so adding the skills that you have and getting endorsed by other members really talks about what you can bring to the table as an employee. So those without 5 or more skills actually get 17 times more profile views than those that don't. And you are in full control of your skills. You can choose what's displayed and what you want, and you also can display who endorses who has been endorsed. So great way for you to feature those skills, so you can kind of highlight those for recruiters and for future managers, so that they know what you're going to bring to the table. Also with skills, if you're thinking, I don't know what skills to put on there, or I want to work on some skills right now that I want to make sure, because in this particular job that I'm going after, I know that you're going to need a certain type of skill or skill set. You have a great opportunity with your on campus right now to use LinkedIn Learning to acquire some of those skills. And so LinkedIn Learning has tons of it has 16,000 different courses and everything from short videos to longer courses. You can listen to them more podcast wise versus lengthier courses, but these are a way to acquire skills as well. So as you're going on LinkedIn Learning and diving in to what you're interested in, what your career path is, you can go ahead and take some of those courses. And if you connect your LinkedIn Learning to your LinkedIn profile, you can actually add those course completions to your LinkedIn profile, making you more marketable, and talks a little bit more about what you're interested in, what you're working on, and just allows you to be more noticed by recruiters and employers and future managers, future colleagues. Additionally, request recommendations. So oftentimes when we're thinking about recommendations, we're thinking about asking somebody to write us a letter of recommendation, but why not ask them to request a recommendation right on LinkedIn? It helps you to build credibility and validate your skills. And recruiters love when they're looking at a LinkedIn profile, seeing those recommendations and getting that credibility from other people in the industry. So maybe you have an internship or you're working on a program. At the culmination of that, maybe ask them for a recommendation. You can use faculty on campus. You're working with a faculty member on a project or have worked really closely across the nature of a course. You may ask a faculty member or a leader on campus to recommend you right on LinkedIn. So that way, when you go to apply for jobs, when you're connecting and networking with others, they're seeing right away what recommendations have been given to you in a really nice compact way on your profile. Some recommendations for when you do request for a recommendation: always customize your request. Make sure the person knows who you are, what you want, what your recommendation is for, to give them some guidance. I also would ask for them to think through what do you want? What do you want from them to recommend you for? Remind them a little bit about what you've worked on with them, so that they know a little bit about what you're seeking with this recommendation and what skills you want to highlight. And I also think choose people that you worked really closely with so that they know who you are and they know the work that you've done, so they can really create a really authentic recommendation. And I think it speaks to who you are, and it can be it could be a really fruitful recommendation for you. And don't forget about these other components as well, things like your location, your education, publications that you may have written or engaged with, and any accomplishments that you have. So adding all of these components to your profile can greatly help you being noticed. It can help also just bring some light onto who you are, where you're from, what you have accomplished, and really bringing to light a little bit more about your whole self. And so we talk a lot about who do we want to be professionally known for. And so when looking through all of these different steps, I would keep that in mind. What do you want your profile to say about you? And when somebody takes a look at your profile, what do you want them to walk away knowing about you? And so I think that comes with all of those different steps, everything from your profile picture, to your pronouns, to your work experience, to your about section, to accomplishments, what content you have featured. All of these different components of your profile really make up who you are, and talks a little bit about who you want to be known professionally for. So if you take away anything from this session, I would think through when you're creating your profile, or maybe you're going back and augmenting and tweaking your profile, as I do all the time. I go back, and it's really an iterative process where you're going back and you're constantly tweaking and changing, because you're changing as an individual as you learn and grow. I would keep in mind that statement, that question, what do you want to be professionally known for? And that will help you to create some guidance around how to craft your story. And for those that are launching into new careers, I would really heavily take a look at LinkedIn Learning to equip yourself with really on-demand skills within LinkedIn Learning. You have a ton of different courses, from business courses to leadership courses to creative courses to technology specific courses. We have everything from soft skill development, how to effectively communicate, how to build a resume, interview skills, presentation skills, all the way to something more technical. So maybe you want to learn Excel, or maybe you want to learn about a particular way to do something in Adobe, or there's some specific way that you want, specific tools that you want to learn with Microsoft Teams. There's lots of different ways that you can use LinkedIn Learning, but it's a great way to start to learn. And we use it. LinkedIn Learning is popular on higher ed campuses, but we're seeing we have large amount of companies that use it as well. So it's a way to really just acquire that skill, because at LinkedIn, we really truly believe you're never done learning. So you're constantly going and building those skills, whether you've been in a position for 10, 15 years, whether you've been in a position for one, there's always a place to learn and a new skill to learn, especially as the workforce is developing and changing. So definitely take a look at LinkedIn Learning. We have a wide variety of the library there, and it's a license that you have for free for being a student right now on campus. And so it's a great way to go and acquire those skills and actually put them on your LinkedIn profile to be able to then to build a little bit more light and shed more light onto who you are and what skills you have. Know that in LinkedIn Learning, you have the ability to have it on your app as well. And so if you go onto your phone and download the LinkedIn Learning app, what's great about it is that a lot of our courses too can be done in audio only. And maybe you go and listen to it as you're going for a walk, or going from class to class, or on your commute back and forth from an internship or to class or to your job. What's nice about LinkedIn Learning is it's small, short videos. Some are longer, some are shorter, but always broken up into small subsections so that you can really learn whenever you want. And so what's great about LinkedIn Learning is it really fits into to when you're super busy. I use it all the time, whether I have 10 minutes, whether I have an hour, whether if I only have just a few minutes, I want to learn something specific. There's always something there on LinkedIn Learning that you can learn, and that constant skill acquirement is what really makes you learn and grow as a professional. So definitely take a look at the LinkedIn Learning app. It's a great way to really learn on the go whenever you can. And then of course, there's also LinkedIn Learning on your desktop as well. And as we talked about before, you can showcase your growth by having course completions. You get a certificate when you have gone through a course within LinkedIn Learning, and you can choose to put that on your LinkedIn profile. And recruiters and future managers and future colleagues can get to know a little bit about the courses that you've taken, the skills that you have acquired, just further building credibility for those skills too, as you work either going into the workforce or continuing to learn and develop in your careers. Oops. And then also keep in mind licenses and certifications, anything like that, please make sure that you put them on LinkedIn Learning as LinkedIn as well. Along within LinkedIn Learning, there's course recommendations. So within this, if you don't know where to start, know that there's always a place where we're going to recommend based on your skills, what you're interested in, your industry. So go ahead and jump in. I often don't get very far on the recommendation page before finding something that jogs my interest. So we have everything from wellness resources to more creative resources, soft skill development, more technical skills. So just know that there's a lot of different resources there, all free, all ready to use. All different lengths of time and different formats, but all from really highly regarded instructors and that are top of the field. So LinkedIn instructors are not just full-time instructors on LinkedIn. They are top of the field. They're in their fields doing great things, and they go through a process to be one of our LinkedIn instructors. And they come in and teach a course to really just further develop the workforce. So what's great about our platform is that we use those recommendation features for you to find all the different learning that you may want to do. And then also remember, if you're prepping for a particular certification, or maybe there's some continuing ed, we have lots of different ways that we can support you in that as well. So maybe you are prepping for a certification for Adobe or for Google. Maybe you're looking for your continuing education for NASBA or other parts. Just know that LinkedIn Learning has certain on-demand courses to help you in that, to prepare for things like professional certification exams or to earn those CEUs. So if you're familiar with that or are working towards some of that, take a look at LinkedIn Learning, because we can definitely help with some of that content. So I'm going to pause here, and I want you to think of just one skill or course that aligns to your career that you can start and dive into a course today. And when you're done with that course, I would definitely recommend putting it on your LinkedIn profile. So then to build up those skills and those certifications on your profile to learn a little bit, so that future employers and colleagues and future managers know a little bit more about who you are. I'm going to pause here. I know I see some questions in the chat, so we're going to take some questions before. Any questions that we have so far?
Yes, we have a few. So how important is it to follow groups on LinkedIn?
I think groups are a great way to really connect with others. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to learn. So it's something to definitely take a look at within. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in our Power User course, Power User webinar a little bit later today. But it's a great way to connect with others, to learn. I think what's great about LinkedIn is that the content and what people share and what people post are ways that we can always develop in our fields to really kind of open our eyes to different perspectives and to learn about what's important in other industries. So I think if there's certain groups that interest you, that make sense, that align with your career goals, or maybe just have a similar interest, go ahead and join those groups. It's a great way to network and to learn about a specific topic or industry.
Amazing. And then premium LinkedIn accounts. What are the advantages and how much does it cost? And should we look into them as students?
Great question. So premium accounts there's basic and premium, but one thing that premium has is availability for LinkedIn Learning, along with other different aspects around how many messages you can send out and different reasons why you may want to have a premium account during your job search. In terms of the LinkedIn Learning, you have that through Oswego already. So it's a great way to utilize that resource to see if you like it. There's lots of resources on what is premium versus basic, and you may want to take a look at that if that makes sense for you to do, but you definitely don't need to. So what's nice about being a student right now is that you have a lot of these resources available to you through your campus already. So take advantage of all of those things right now, and then you can get to know a little bit about your presence on LinkedIn, how you interact, and it will give you a little bit more insight on what the best membership would be for you.
Awesome, thank you. It looks like we have a hand raised. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, I actually want to ask something. So I'm just starting to navigate the platform of LinkedIn, and I would like to know, like, when is it okay to add a professional? Because it just looks like my LinkedIn, it just looks so empty. I don't have a lot of connections. And, you know, I don't want to look like a creep person who just met someone and it's just like, oh, let me add you on LinkedIn. And they'll think, oh, I don't know you. Why are you adding me, you know? So, yeah.
That's a really good question. We all have to start somewhere. So it's totally okay if your profile you feel like is not super robust, because that's just part of starting out. But I would really think through all your experiences on campus to ways for your profile to really reflect who you are. So again, through like volunteers, programs, different things you've been associated with, content, all of those things can really add to your profile along with skills. And then all things like your profile pictures, pronouns, education about that really is a really solid profile. And I think you should be really proud of that profile as you're starting out. But I love your idea around your comment around networking. So one thing we always recommend is when you are networking with somebody and you go connect with them on LinkedIn, put in a message. So it's a great way for you to personalize that message. I would say for those that network and just send out messages, I get connection requests from people that I don't know, and I don't always connect with them because I don't know who they are. And so I would always just add, whether it's I'm connecting you because you're an alumni and would love to connect and to learn about your experience, or maybe you met somebody at an event. There's quite a couple of people that connected with me yesterday evening after the panel yesterday and wrote me a quick message, love learning about the different social media industries. Great to connect with you, and had a little message. Really, that goes a long way. So I think thinking through when you do make a connection, even just adding 1 or 2 sentences, don't put too much pressure on it, but really personalizes it. And many people then often accept that connection request. But thinking through for like future students, faculty members, leaders on campus are always a great place to start.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then going off of that, should we try to connect with as many people as possible or stay narrowly focused on people in our chosen field? And what is the best strategy for connecting with people?
That's a good question. So networking can feel a little overwhelming because networking is so incredibly important, but you can really make networking connect to who you are and what you're comfortable with. So those that are more extroverted might love networking, love talking to new people. I guess before COVID and pandemic, you may love being in a room with lots of different people that you may know and small talk and going ahead and just creating those conversations. And for some of us, that might be the worst thing in the entire world. And you don't want to go up to somebody and not know something. So I think there's different ways that you can network that you can really feel comfortable in. So we have lots of great courses on networking in LinkedIn Learning. I was actually watching one yesterday to always just refresh my skills. And one thing that the instructor talked about was it's not just about that initial first connection with somebody, but it's about keeping quality relationships and keeping up with them. So I wouldn't pressure yourself into thinking I need to go out and send a million different networking requests and go connect with all of these different people. I would think about being really purposeful and also thinking through how am I going to keep up with these people so that maybe one day I can offer them something, maybe I can learn from them from something, but building really quality relationships with those people on campus, with those that you may serve in the community with for certain programs. Maybe you meet somebody in a professional or a personal situation and you love their industry, you want to learn a little bit more, great places to connect. Adding that quick little personalization message goes a long way. But I would start really kind of purposeful and think through who you want to connect with and how you're going to maintain and build that relationship moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So not about the numbers, it's about the quality of the interaction. Wonderful. And then I think our last question, unless anybody has any other ones, is are there pathways that are already built that will make me better in a variety of related skills that will make me the whole package?
Good, really good question. So we have lots of different content on LinkedIn Learning, things from learning paths to collections to courses. And I think a couple of different ways that you can get in just to start is thinking through maybe what are some skills that you're interested in but may want to develop a little bit more. We have certain learning paths geared towards students. I would go ahead and check those out. Learning paths are just a little bit more prescribed. So you take one video, then you're going to go on to the next and the next. Collection is more like, think about it, if you go to a library and take out a whole bunch of books on a topic. A collection is just a group of courses, videos, learning paths that might be connected to a certain event. and by topic or skill. And then you have individual courses, and they may cover lots of different things. So ways you can use that search bar to go ahead and to take a look. There's lots of things geared towards students. So go ahead and take a look at some of the courses and passing collections that are geared towards you right now. But I also would really look through that browse button, because there's a whole bunch of different topics that maybe you don't even know about, that you want to learn a little bit more. So maybe you want to take a look at what it's like to be in marketing or social media, and you want to just take an intro course on that to see if that's maybe a career aspiration that you may want to have. Great way to kind of just to get your feet wet in some of these industries. So lots of different ways. I think that's the beauty of LinkedIn Learning, is that you can use it to develop really specific skills or to really explore. So I would definitely go ahead and take a look at some of the different courses that we have, so that you can start to build some of those skills and add them to your profile.
Thank you. Alrighty. We do not have any more questions, so I believe this is, do you have any more of your presentation?
No, I think we're gonna pause here. I'm gonna just to go back to a few pieces here. I think if you're gonna start anywhere, I would say, don't forget to start at the first. I'll make sure that this presentation is sent, but to start back with those 10 steps. So a lot of times when we have these presentations and we're talking about LinkedIn Learning, it's where do I start? If anything, even if you just pick 2 or 3 of the steps today to add to your profile, whether it's adding a picture, whether it's adding your pronouns or that about section, you don't need to tackle everything. I think I would say, go ahead and pick out of those 10 steps, what are some things that I can do now? What are some things I'm going to do by the end of the semester? What are some things that I want to do by the end of the year? And just really kind of chip away at creating your profile. But remember, your profile shouldn't really ever be done, because you're going to continue to learn and grow as a professional and an individual. So always go back and take a look and tweak and change, so that profile really resonates with who you are as an individual.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I think that it's awesome how personalizable LinkedIn is, because I see a lot of people that struggle with finding who they are in a professional space. So that is really awesome. Thank you everyone for participating, and a huge thank you to Caitlin. Your insights and perspectives were so interesting and insightful to help us all on our professional development journey. And then for last minute things as we're wrapping up, please click the link in the chat that we're going to put in there and answer our 3-question survey about this session, and we will enter you into the drawing for the prizes this week. Also, don't forget to check out Caitlin's session at 4 p.m. today on how to use advanced features on LinkedIn to make you a true power user. Check out the chat for the link and details. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a great day.